What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Let's do this. Let's do it. Let's do it.
If you ever wonder why we do it, this is why.
Everybody gonna get loud. Out in the country, we do it like a hold down. Big bass system, dropping thunder all around town. Locked in the back with the doors wide open. Girls looking good and the guys are hoping. Foot stomping, ground pounding, backyard round up. Everybody's here getting down from the ground up. Big bonfire and the music is the blaze, and the girls and the boys are all going crazy. Turn it up, let it out. Everybody shout, get loud, get loud. Tonight we're gonna burn it down. Feel the thunder hit the ground. Everybody gonna get loud. CA is gonna get loud.
What up? What up? What up? What up? What up, everybody? We got Bobby B in the house. There's a few more that have showed up. Ain't nobody else talking, though. Bobby's the only one that's going to speak up. He's always the first one in the room unless he's late because, you know, life. And I know Bobby's working on his own build right now. So I put up a video. I put up a video today talking about the second amplifier. Actually, I was talking about the third amplifier. Actually, it's going to be the fifth amplifier, but I'm taking one away, so that's only 4. 5 minus 1 math. You know, that's the way it works. But we're trying to figure out where we're going to put that amplifier. And while I was doing that, and while I have been preparing for this show just shortly, I don't do a lot of preparation, guys. I come in here and sit down and I spend about 5 minutes getting everything together and thinking about what I'm going to do, and that's how this goes. So I don't script anything. There's nothing like that. It's just let it flow. But while I was thinking, the last few days actually, I've been watching some of my old videos, and I emphasize a lot of things on my channel, and I was noticing something that kind of, sometimes you got to step back, you know. You get so deep in what you're doing that you forget where you come from, and you forget the foundations that you built things on. So I was going through some of the videos on my channel and noticed that, let me see here, I wasn't paying attention to some of my own advice. I have one video, a very old video now, called Grounds Are Everything. I need to put more emphasis on my grounds. I've got good grounds, but they could be better. You know, getting power delivery, if you're not delivering power to your equipment, you can't expect your equipment to be able to produce power. You know, it's got to have it to turn it into music, right? So big heavy power wires and big heavy ground wires and a good solid, you know, continuous ground for that system to be able to send that power back and forth through that amplifier. That's crucial to be able to get the output out of the amplifier that you're asking. And I had just not been putting enough emphasis on that. So that's something I'm going to address. I've got the equipment to do it, and I'm going to put that effort back into it. What's up? What's up? What's up, Rick Ross? Rick says, how's everything going tonight, man? Things are going. You know what I'm saying? Things are going. We're doing things. We're making things happen. And we're getting through it. I've been really struggling, like I said, with my own personal bull crap. How do I get to that? I'm trying to find something. Oh, there we go. So I wanted to visually see what I was talking about. So, oh, there I am. I'm live. How about that? We're live, guys. Bobby said, yo, again. What's up, Bobby B? Some of my top videos. So, let's talk a little bit about my 5 most popular videos on YouTube. That's going to be how much power do I need? Because that's a question. If you've got amplifiers set up in your vehicle and you're wanting to be able to know how much batteries and how much alternator and all of that, you can actually, you need to be able to power your equipment. That's a good one. The other one was how to fix a driver's windows not rolling up. Holy crap, that video has been successful, and it totally really doesn't apply to car audio. Mid-range versus mid-bass. That's a big one too. Because not everybody understands that there is a difference between a mid-range speaker and a mid-bass speaker. They are not the same thing. And another one is the best sound digital processor for your money. I like to dodge these kinds of videos because there's basically, from what I've seen, there's basically 2 types of videos well, there's technically 3. One type of video explaining how things work, how expressing or delivering an understanding of a concept. Okay. How do I tune something with a DSP? How do I, differentiate between certain types of speakers? What does a different comb material do to a speaker? Things like that. I call those videos evergreen videos because they remain relevant for years. They don't lose relevance. Then you have videos where I'm talking about a specific brand and a specific piece of equipment. Those videos can do well for a short time, but then that brand becomes irrelevant, and then equipment becomes irrelevant, and now the video becomes irrelevant. The third type is install videos. And we have a crowd in here tonight. We have a little crowd in here tonight. Bobby said hello. Jason said, what's up, everyone? What's up, Jason? Let's see here. And Jason Ewing said, howdy, everybody. White Rambo's in the house. What's good? What's good, White Rambo? Man, I don't know. I just don't know. I'm looking at it. But the point is, there are 3 basic types of videos: explaining videos, product videos, and install videos. The product videos do better early on. The explaining videos do better in the long term. And my install videos do well amongst people that are subscribers. They don't really draw any new subscribers to the channel. It's like Brandon made it in the house. What's up, Brandon? Nice to see you drop in, my friend. You guys, if you have any questions about Trunk Under Lithium, that's the man right there. Brandon is the man. So y'all hit him up, and he will answer your questions real quick. Steve Smith says, salute CAU. What up, fam? What's up, man? We're just doing things, doing it like we always do it. So talking about power delivery, as I was talking about earlier, I've got a setup in there now with the Trunk Under Lithium 10K version 1. And right now I'm asking it to handle 16,000 watts. That's a lot of power. Now granted, I'm not actually clamping that much, but we're clamping a good solid 8,000 watts, and that's just off the sub amplifiers. We're about to add another 2,000 watts in mids and highs. So we're going to be pushing the capability of the current system. But we got things coming in that's going to help sort that right out. We're going to be getting a little bit bigger battery from Tucked Under Lithium, and we're going to be able to handle that extra power no problem. What's up, Travis? Travis is in the house. Y'all say what's up to Travis. He's popped in. He's got a van. Travis has a blank slate right now. He's got a really nice damn van that he's getting ready to turn into a base vehicle. And I think you were talking about a couple of 8Ks and four 412s or 415s. I don't remember now. But yeah, he's getting ready to do some nasty stuff in that van, guys. You'll probably be seeing that on the channel within the next couple of months. Y'all forgive me for a minute. I need to take an AFK. I'll be back here very shortly. I'll leave you guys with the duck for a moment. Yeah, I apologize for that. Life does not stop because you're in the middle of a show. Let's see here, Brandon. Brandon said, I'll be sending me a picture later. Cool. Pretty much the finalized HDPE case that's housing the newest Banger 10K. Also, all copper bus bars. Guys, Tucked Under Lithium always takes it to the next level. And so we're having to wait on things because he's doing it right. If you throw together the very basics to get something done, you can get it out quickly and you can probably get more sales. But at the same time, you'll be delivering an inferior product. Brandon does not deliver inferior product. He's going to put the effort and time into it to make sure that it's right when it comes out. So that is definitely why there's a bit of a delay on that. But from what I understand, we're looking at this week, maybe next week, and we should be good to go. So y'all look forward to the new stuff coming from Tucked Under Lithium. Jason said that duck's got moves. Yeah, baby, that duck ain't no joke, man. He gets down. Oh, sorry. Joseph said his YouTube's not working for me. Phone's being dumb. Hey, man, that's a story of my life. DJ Ron, the mechanic, said, hey, everybody. What's up, DJ Ron? So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about the internal resistance of a storage device. So where all can we get that? We can get that from the cells themselves, which is the normal place. You can get internal resistance, and internal resistance is bad because it it resists outputting power, but it also resists incoming power, which is actually more important. It's harder. Okay, it is easier for any type of storage device to put power out, to turn that chemically stored energy into actual DC current. It's easier to do that than it is to turn the electricity coming in into chemically stored energy. So it's easier for a battery to put it out than it is to take it in. That's why an AGM battery can put out power for a short time. But what the problem comes is whenever you're trying to put that power back into that battery, it just can't take it very fast. That's why it takes 6 or 8 AGM batteries to add up to one trunk thunder lithium 10K. Because it takes that many batteries to be able to receive the power back that they're losing. Collectively they can produce way more power output, but they can't take it in fast enough to keep up that very long. So if you get in a car with an AGM battery and you crank the system up, it's going to slam like a freaking freight train for 10 seconds. And then it's going to start dropping, and you're not going to see the voltage come back up until it's had time to build back up, because it just can't receive the power back. No matter how much alternator you have, you're not going to be able to put that power back in the battery because it can't take it that fast. And that's ultimately the real defining characteristic of a good storage device for car audio. It needs to be able to take in power very quickly. That's the one thing that changes from system to system. So, what all can inhibit that? For one, your charging system, the wiring running to the system, bolts and fasteners here and there that are losing a little bit of conductivity. Bad ground, a ground where you've got paint involved and you've got like a ground, like there is some metal touching, right? But it's just only a small amount. And there's like, for example, if you've drilled a hole on a piece of sheet metal and you run a bolt through there and that bolt has got like a lock washer on it, maybe it's got one on both sides, right? You really crank it down, that lock washer is going to dig into that metal and cut some of that paint away. It is going to make a decent connection. Could it be better? Yes, because you're going to be sacrificing that whole area where that lock washer did not dig that paint away. All that surface is not making contact. It's got an insulator between it. So you're going to have less conductivity through there, which means you can put less power back into the battery and you can also take less power out of the battery. It's literally inhibiting the process. And every step of that loop, you have to go through it and find them all and fix them all, because at any point and every point along the way, all those little imperfections will stack up to cut into your power of your system can reliably deliver to your audio system. And these are things that people generally don't think about, because if it works pretty good, you're like, it's fine. Well, what you don't realize is you're leaving a whole lot of power on the table because you're not getting the power to your amplifiers. It can only make what it's getting. As an example, I've got two 16,000 watt amplifiers. If I'm only able to deliver, if I'm pulling at 1 ohm, right, and I'm actually trying to get 16,000 watts out of that, if I'm only able to deliver 300 amps, I'm not going to be able to get 16,000 watts. It's still going to jam. It's still going to be pumping out 3,000 watts, right? It's still going to hit, and you probably won't even realize there's anything going on. The problem is you turn power into power. You can't make it. It doesn't just come out of the cloud. It has to go in from the battery. So the amplifier starts at the battery and the alternator, the power source, because that is literally what you're turning into bass. It don't matter what kind of amplifier you put in that system. If you're not putting a big enough bank of power in there to turn into bass, the amplifier can only work with what it's got. So I have been going through and rewatching a lot of my old videos and refamiliarizing myself with things that I've preached about for so long. And I'm like, you know what? I know there's some little stumbling blocks in my system that I can go through and clean up and make better. I know there is. And that's something I'm going to have to address. And you guys know there is too. You know your own system, and you know where you took this shortcut. You know where you took that shortcut. You know that ground really wasn't as good as it could have been. It's kind of working, but you know that it could be better. And taking care of that is going to buy you more power output. It's going to get you more base. And ultimately, that's what we're all about. It's also going to make your system work better. A restricted signal path, a restricted conductivity path will cause heat also. It causes more heat. Anytime you have resistance, you have heat. That's why speakers get hot. That's why amplifiers get hot. That's why all electrical equipment gets hot. It's because the resistance in that circuit generates heat. And so anytime you generate heat, you have resistance. Now, if you have enough resistance in like your wiring, for example, it'll generate heat. And then whenever something gets hot, when it heats up, it also, the resistance goes higher. So if it's already generating heat, it's already got resistance and it's generating heat, that same spot where your resistance is being generated, that heat is going to build up on that exact spot. And that's going to concentrate right there. And it's going to make the resistance go up even more, which snowballs. And then you wind up with melted fuse holders. You know, the fuse holder just melting into a glob. That's how that happens. A weak connection, generating heat, generating resistance, generating heat, generating resistance, generating heat, melted fuse holder. Fuse did not blow. At no point did you pull enough current through there to blow the fuse, but you were generating a metric shit ton of heat. So building a battery with the right equipment and doing it the right way helps to eliminate those spots where heat can be generated and where resistance can be generated. And he's talking about using all copper bus bars. I love the sound of that. That's going to guarantee the maximum amount of conductivity. And I'm all about it. Yep. I'm so bad, so what's up? Jason got his stuff to working, apparently. He got his phone figured out. He said, it takes power to make power. And that's true, but it's not even totally true. There is no one then the other. It's just one. You're literally hooking your speakers up to the battery. There's just something in the middle that turns this power into subwoofer power. But it's the same thing. The battery is where all that's coming from. And I say battery alternator combined. That's where all the power is coming from. It blows my mind. I mean, I get it. People don't have a basic understanding of how electricity works. But it's really simple. You know, watts divided by amps equals volts. Or watts divided by volts equals amps. Amps times volts equals watts. It's a trilogy, and it's the same. If you're expecting 1,000 watts, you know, you can multiply how much amperage you have by how much voltage you have, and you'll know whether or not you can make that 1,000 watts or not. But you also have to sacrifice about 20 to 30% of that number to the heat gods, as we've already discussed. The process of turning one type of current into another generates resistance, which generates heat, which it cuts away some of that efficiency. So I usually just use a 10 volts instead of 12 or 13. I multiply by 10. So 10 volts times 100 amps is 1,000 watts. You know, it's not complicated. It's really simple. If you say, well, my car's only got a 200 amp alternator and I got one AGM battery and I'm running a 5,000 watt amplifier. Guess what? You may be running a 5,000 watt amplifier, but you ain't getting nowhere near 5,000 watts out of that amplifier. At most, you're getting maybe 1,000 to 2,000 watts, and that's if I'm being really generous. It's just the way it is. You just can't produce something from nothing. White Rambo said, DJ Ron, chillin' fam, got the DC to AC converter hooked up in the bed of the pickup. You know what? A DC to AC converter is an amplifier. Yeah, baby. It sure is. Let me rephrase that. An amplifier for a car amplifier is a DC to AC converter. The only difference is, well, there's a bunch of differences, but the main difference is that a car amplifier has a chipset in there to allow it to turn a signal coming in from the radio and take that signal and interpret that AC voltage output to run the same frequency as that signal. But if you ran 60 hertz, you played a 60 hertz tone and shot it in there, and you've got a good decent sized amplifier, you could run your skill saw off of the speaker outputs. Yes, it's a DC to AC power inverter. That's all it is. What charger should I get to charge the Banger 10K? If Brandon don't chime up, I will. I'm gonna give Brandon time to notice that one. DJ Ron, a mechanic, said I had to change a dual factory ground in my car. I found that the wires were corroded and was causing my charging voltage to dip bad to the point I thought my alternator was bad. Exactly. That the cable that they use for most grounds, I'm gonna tell you guys, if you get an old car and it don't work right, like, I don't care what's going on with it, but if anything's not working right, in fact, even if it is working right, go through the thing, redo all the grounds. Ground from the engine to the body, ground from the battery to the block, ground from the alternator. Make sure everything, all the grounds are replaced, upgraded, took care of. This will solve so many car audio or car electrical gremlins. Getting your grounds right, because the ground is so overlooked. People will go through and replace the battery cable, the power cable, because it went bad. Do they mess with the ground? No, the ground never moves, so they just figure it's fine. Never mind the fact that it's corroded here, this connection's corroded here, this connection's corroded here. Somebody's cut these off, they're not even there anymore. They replaced it and never hooked them up. So there's grounds, the engine's trying to pull a ground through the frame, and it's got a rubber engine mount in there stopping that. It's like all kinds of problems come up. Your grounds are so often your issue. So they're overlooked, and they really are extremely important. It's as important as the power wire is. You've got to have the grounds. And some countries, not in countries anymore, but at some points in time, we've actually had a positive system to where the whole car is positive instead of the negative. The power, the ground runs through a wire, and then the rest of the vehicle is positively charged instead of negatively charged. But the thing is, you can run it either way because it's just a circuit no matter what. You got to take care of the power, man. You got to take care of the grounds. Jason said, Glow Industries tested various A&L fuses, their internal resistance. Some of them were poorly designed, and the fuses got excessively hot compared to higher quality fuses. Less voltage drop, too. Absolutely. A fuse is not a fuse is not a fuse. If you're looking for something really good in the fuse department, head over to GP Audio and pick up their ceramic fuses. It's probably the very best fuse you can buy for a car. If you want the large A&L style fuses and you want the very best you can buy, that's where you go to get them. There's probably other sources for them. I'm not saying there's not. But I know for a fact that the ones that Tyler's got at GP Audio are absolutely phenomenal fuses. Great for you. You got to get the ceramics though. Let's see. Josh said, "What's up, Shane? It's been a minute. Want another demo, bro? I always got demos. I got lots of demos. I got a ton. The 29th at Carmel Car Audio. It's next Sunday. You guys in the Missouri area, next Sunday, you need to look up Carmel Car Audio, Carmil Car Audio, Springfield, Missouri. It's going to be from like 10 to 5 or something like that. Basically all day, you know. Get out there and I'll be out there. There'll be a whole lot of crazy people out there. It'll be a great time. It don't cost nothing to show up, and you'll have a blast. And I can give you demos. If you want a demo, that's where you're going to get one. In fact, not only will you get a demo from me, but if you show up out there mentioning CAE, that you caught this video or that you're one of my subscribers, I'll get you a demo from some of the loudest shit you ever heard. I'll make sure that happens. I'll get you a demo that'll hurt you. DJ Ron Mechanic, I had an A&L fuse, had a bad resistance. Yep. What do you recommend for Rockville? For 2 Rockville W15 K9 D2s, about 100 watts. I'm being an asshole, man. I know Rockville's sketch, man. The stuff isn't bad, but their rating system is so off. I don't like to recommend for a company that I can't rely on their ratings. The K9s, though, I do believe that they can safely handle 500 watts RMS, you know, of real power. Maybe a little bit more, but I wouldn't put more than that. I wouldn't put much more than that. And I want to tell you, man, it doesn't take a whole lot of power on a sub to get the thing functioning really, really well. So don't scoff at my answer, okay? Trust me, real power, 500 watts is a lot of power in a sub. I mean, I'm talking about clamped power, not advertised power, but actual power getting to the subwoofer. So you're looking at like a 2,000 watt amp. Yeah, that'd be what I would say you need to get a 2K. In fact, hang on a second. I'll even give you an exact recommendation, but I want to make sure that I'm not being an idiot when I do it, because idiot is something I specialize in. Yeah, there you go. The Slapz Audio SDK 2K.1 2,000 watt monoblock amplifier. That sucker is $169 if you use my coupon code CAE on the checkout. You can knock another 10% off of that. So you're looking at like $150. Now, how's that? That meet your criteria? That's my recommendation. That's going to get you in the neighborhood of 500 watts clamp power to each sub after box rise and all that. That's going to be bang on perfect for your setup. Budget friendly. Yep. I answered all the criteria. DJ Ron says, since I changed the grounds, voltage now charged above 14 volts. But yeah. And now you're just looking at the voltage, though. Imagine how much current you gain. How much potential current you gain. You may have been reaching the limit of the current capacity, and now you're basically unlimited just by one little fix like that. Crazy stuff. Hang on a second here. I do believe that our music has gone crazy. The music has gone crazy. What happened? Our AI went on strike. GP is my go-to. Love buying local, supporting local business. All right, I don't even care that they're local. Look, guys, this is straight up real talk, man. Look, let me just put this out there. I don't care that I know Tyler. I don't care that they're local. I don't care that all of my friends run a lot of GP stuff, and I don't care about any of that. What the straight up thing is, Tyler is a stickler for quality. And some of the very best gear that you can get out there for installs, some of the very, very best wire, distribution, fuse holders, fuses, bolts, all that kind of stuff. Some of the very best is where you get it is GP audio. Straight up, man. It's just good stuff. You know, I mean, it's bass heads. It's a whole bunch of bass heads designing shit for bass heads. It's not a bunch of people in a boardroom sitting around a table going, well, I don't know if we can market this item or not. What do you call this again? Oh, I don't know what that is. It's not that. This is a bunch of old bass heads figuring out how to make the very best stuff for bass heads. It don't get no better than that, right? And Tyler does not want to have anything come back. He wants people to be happy with the stuff they get. He wants it to be way over designed, like way over designed. That's why the stuff he sells, this GP branded stuff, is always going to be way over designed. And it's just straight up, man. Josh said, I'll be there. Cody talked him into Hell yeah, man. I was thinking the 5K between the two. I wouldn't, man. I just wouldn't. I don't trust them enough. I mean, if you're gonna burp it, you know, if you're just gonna burp it, for the, you know, and you're not gonna be cranking it all the time, sure, a 5K will burp fine, even more. But if you're gonna be jamming that thing, driving around and cranking the balls out of it, no, I wouldn't do it, man. You're gonna cook those subs. I mean, if you don't mind, here's the problem. If you blow the subs, you have a good chance of also taking the amplifier with it. So let's say you get a 5,000 watt amp and you put on there and then you blow the subs. You're like, well, I don't care if I blow the subs. I'll just get different subs and everything will be fine. I'll already have the amp. Blowing the subs can often take an amp with it. When you short that coil out, that dead short can take out an amp. So it usually doesn't, but it damn sure can. So I don't trust Rockville's rating system on their subwoofers enough to go more than that. That's what I recommend. You ask, and I'm telling you, that's what I would recommend. Somebody else tells you different, that's fine. That's on them. I'm not going to send you down a path that I don't see any light at the end of that tunnel. I'm going to stay safe. Okay, that's what I'm telling you. Jason, yeah, it seems ceramic and fiberglass A&L is the best. Yeah, ceramic's the shit, dude. Ceramic is the shit. It also, the ceramic can't melt. That's a thing. One of the things about ceramic is it doesn't melt. Plan to do 2 more. Yeah, you need to get you some Slapz Oblivions, man. Oblivions will take 2,000 watts all day, and they'll take a lot more than that. They'll take 2,000 watts and infinitely. Like, those are some tough ass subs, and the price on them is not that bad. But anyway, that's all you. I ain't dumping on your stuff, bro. I'm not. Trust me, I'm not doing that. I would never do that. I just don't trust the rating system that Rockville uses for their subwoofers. I've seen them destroyed by running the power they recommend way too many times. And so I've developed a kind of a, I got an opinion. Not that they're not good. They sound great and they handle power as long as you don't try to give them as much power as they say they will handle. Because they don't understand that concept. Sells those. Oh, the ceramic fuses? GP audio, man. GP's got them. Let's see here. Jason said, DJ, did you do the big three? Beefing up the grounds is needed. You got to beef the current path. Yes. All those are very good points. It's fiberglass ceramic uses a lot of places. Yeah, sure. You can go anywhere and get ceramic A&Ls. I'm just recommending GP. It's a good go-to spot. If you're looking for something and you don't know what the best version of the thing you're looking for is, the version he sells is going to be in that very top category of the very best stuff you can buy for that type of application. It's my go-to spot to find out what is the best, because that's all they sell. The people that buy from GP all want the best stuff. They want stuff that they're going to throw stupid power through things. They're going to do insane things to things. So Tyler knows this, and that's why all of the equipment is rated to handle all of that and continue to give. So that's why I just go there. If I don't know, I go there, even if I do know. And the prices are not going to be any better anywhere else than they are at GP. Plus, you get the warranties and stuff that GP offers. And it's just a good organization, man. It's a good company. Dale, James LaGrange Gordon. Anybody order an alternator from Tucson? No. Don't know anything about that. Vintage Gamer says, I have three 300 amp ceramic fuses on a alt gauge OFC wires and the 3000 watt tar amps. Big Boss 3K. Is that too many amps? Well, no. You're fusing the wire, not the amplifier. You could have a 500 watt amplifier on a 300 amp fuse. The fuse is rated for the wire. So you said you got three 300s on a I'm assuming you've got 3 runs of alt gauge wire. That's totally fine, man. I mean, it's the wire itself is overkill for the amplifier. You're probably, I would say that running a single run of alt gauge wire would be plenty for that 3K. But running 2 would be my choice, just because I like headroom in the wiring. So you're running two alt gauges or 3 alt gauges with a 300 amp fuse in them. That's totally fine. There's way more wire than you need, but you're not fusing the amplifier. Again, you're fusing for the wire. How much current can this wire handle before it starts to melt, right? You want the fuse to blow before the wire starts to melt. That's the key. It has nothing to do with what you're putting on the end of it. If you just got the wire run through your car and it ain't hooked to anything, okay, it still needs to be fused. Because that fuse, with that wire manages to ground out somewhere and it starts getting hot, the fuse will blow and keep the wire from burning your car down. You're fusing the wire, not the equipment. So yeah, that's totally fine, man. Just a little excessive on the wire, but I mean, better to have more than not enough, so I ain't gonna bitch. DJ Ron said he found the fuses. Yeah, man. That's my go-to spot, dude. I'm just giving you solid advice on where to go if you're looking for quality shit. They also have good dual alternator brackets, dual and triple alternator and all that for brackets for different cars. They have the no sag springs at GP. If your car's got that booty's dragging a little bit because you got all them amplifiers and sub enclosures back here, try finding that somewhere. GP actually sells spring kits for all sorts of vehicles. They're the ones that got the springs on EXO's van. No sag springs. It's basically they get them to adjust for the amount of weight you got there to put the car back to a level state with all that mass in it. It's a big damn deal. GP car audio, man. I can't stress it. Guys, listen to what I'm telling you. I need to put some fuses in the little Kia, still no fuse. Yeah, you do. You know, it's you know what? You don't need a fuse. You don't need any fuses at all until you do. And you know, the amount of time between not needing a fuse and needing a fuse is a nanosecond. And I'll assure you, in that nanosecond, you're not going to be ready for what's about to happen. It's like a fire extinguisher. You never ever need a fire extinguisher. For years and years and years, you never need a fire extinguisher. And then one day, you do. And if you got one, the situation is saved. If you don't have one, you can lose the whole thing. The house goes. Everything's gone. People could die. All because you didn't have that thing that you didn't need for 15 years at that moment that you did. You know what I'm saying? Guys, you do what you want to do, man. Just remember, you don't need it until the moment you do, and then you're going to really appreciate having it. And that's what's up. Vintage Gamer said, I do all Sky High OFC. Ain't nothing wrong with Sky High wire. I have no problem with Sky High's wire at all. I don't like some of their stuff that they sell, fuse holders and certain things. But I have no trouble with their wire as long as it's OFC. I don't like everybody's everything. Okay. So there's certain stuff I'm picky about. What do I like and dislike about certain types of wire? I like higher thread count, more copper. That's a plus. I also like a jacket that can take abuse, because, you know, whenever a piece of metal rubs into your jacket and shorts out that copper, shit just got real serious real fast. So the jacket has to be tough. The GP America Series wire has got an extremely good abrasion resistance. I mean, it is tough jacketed wire. But if I was comparing by the amount of heat a jacket can take, it's going to be welding wire. All your welding cable does not have as good of an abrasion resistance or a pinch resistance, but it has extremely good heat resistance. So if you're going to be running a wire close to your exhaust system or around someplace that gets really stupid hot, use welding wire. You can go through flex whip welding wire. You could do Ohio generator or Ohio generators. There's any place that sells welding wire. I usually go with flex whip. It's orange, and the reason is because that particular wire has an extremely flexible. It's really loosey-goosey. You can work that wire into the worst positions. It's nice and soft and noodly, but it also has that ridiculously high thermal rating on the jacket. And zero, and I mean zero, Car Audio branded power wire has anything close to that high of a thermal rating on their jacket. It will all melt with a heat gun. The Flex Whip jacket on that stuff will not melt. You can sit there and fry it and fry it and fry it with a heat gun, and it does not care. It's very high melting temperature. So yes, depending on the circumstances, I pick one thing over another. It just depends on what I'm trying to do. Three fuse blocks, 2 batteries. Gotcha. Jason said, having a 300 fuse on each 1-aught wire and the battery will protect the wires. Yeah, it's not going to protect the amp, but nothing's going to protect the amp. The amp would have to, see, yeah, the amp doesn't have, there. All right. How do I put this gingerly? Okay, if you want to protect an amplifier, first of all, don't wire it under its minimum ohm load. That's going to pull more current through the circuit than it was designed to pull. The amp may not turn off, and it may actually produce power and make bass. But you're asking the circuitry in that equipment to do more work than it was ever designed for. So it's going to get much hotter and have a higher chance of failing. It's also, at bare minimum, going to have a much shorter lifespan. You're going to shorten the lifespan of it, minimum. But you also can very easily blow it up. What was the fuse for an amplifier? You see amplifiers and fuses all the time. All over them, they got the fuses. Hang on a second, damn it, I need a freaking show and tell. We're going to class. Because I want you guys to understand what the hell's going on. Amplifier, right here. This is a Diamond Hex Series 600.4. Really good 4-channel amplifier. You notice it has two 30 amp fuses right there. Now, if we went inside this amplifier, okay, you took the cover off of it and went inside there, where you connect your power wire, it goes into that fuse block, those two fuses, and it will actually go parallel through them. So it'd have part going through one and part going through the other, then comes out, then goes into the amplifier. What are those fuses for? Those fuses are for if you're trying to do something with the amplifier that is more than what the circuitry was designed to do, the fuses will blow. The fuses are there, honest to God, the fuses are there to protect the amplifier from stupid. That's it. As simple as that. Because if anything in the amplifier was to malfunction, it's just going to stop working. The circuit is broken. If something internally shorts out, yeah, you'll probably blow a fuse there, but you'll also blow the fuse on your wire anyway. And besides, if anything internally shorts out, it's not going to be a big enough conductor to carry current very long. The amplifier itself will become a fuse. It would just burn a hole in the circuit board and stop. The short would go away. It would just break. Those fuses are there to protect the amplifier from stupid. That's it. That's all they do. They're there to, it's like a governor on an engine. You know, it's like a rev limiter on an engine. It doesn't affect how the engine operates. It just keeps it from blowing up when you stand on the accelerator and just let the thing slam into, you know, it's not going to explode. That's all that is. It's a stupid protector. Anyway, I rented and read long enough. Vintage having 300 fuse, it probably need to go 300 total. Okay. One fuse block up front, two in the rear for the second battery. As long as you're using, you want to fuse close to any battery in the system. So if you got a battery in the front, you fuse as close as you can to that battery. And if you got a battery in the back, that same wire running to the back, you fuse again as close as you can to that battery. You don't have to fuse between the battery and the amplifier, because what are you fusing? Well, no. Let me rephrase that. You do need to fuse after the battery if it's a long run. If it's a 6 or 8 or 10 inch run from the battery to the amplifier, by the time you put a fuse in there, there's literally no wire left. There's no room to put one in there. And it's not any point in it at that point, because everything before that fuse is not fused anyway. So if you've got like 3 inches of wire, that's not, what difference is it going to make? If you're running it through any length at all, going past metal or anything, any length, yes, fuse right close as you can to each battery. But yeah, I said it. I'm going to just screw it. If I try to say it more, I'm doing the best I can, guys. Fuses on order. Yeah, no doubt. All right, so let's see here. Dale said, I'm in the market for a new alternator and saw their Pure Power brand at Tucson. Okay, I got you. I don't know. I can't speak on them. Only ones I can speak on Ohio generators, good alternator. I can personally speak on those. I can speak on the Team GP. I'm running a Team GP 370 now for like the 5th year, and it's been flawless. So I can speak on those. Personally, that's really all of them that I've got personal interaction with. Oh, and this Latrical, this cheap Chinese brand that I've got one of those in my Tahoe too. It's been in there longer than the Team G, and it's a 300 amp alternator, and it hasn't caused me any issues either. I don't know. People ask what's a cheap alternator that does good. Latrical, Lactrical. Look them up on Amazon. I've got 1 out of 1 experience with them. I've had one, but it's been flawless. I don't know what to tell you. I didn't expect it to last the whole season. I didn't even know if it was going to work. It's been one of the most reliable things I've put in my Tahoe. Joseph said, yep, fuses are on order this payday, no doubt. Jason said, y'all run to the front. I'm doing the Minecraft, the villagers. I cracked myself up talking to them. They walk up to me and go, I'm like, guys, I have issues. I don't know what to tell you. I'm a crazy person. Yeah, good advice. See what else is going on down here. Electrical, yeah. Dale said it. Dale said I have electrical. Yeah, it's electrical, not electrical. You're close. Yeah, been flawless, hasn't it? No problems. It's worked perfectly. I don't know what to tell you. They're cheap Chinese freaking alternators, but I've had the one, but I've never had to replace it or do anything to it. It's just sitting there and cooked and made power and hasn't ever had a problem. So I gotta recommend them. You know, they clearly have a 100% success rate, and my empirical evidence shows that their success rate is 100%. Fuses. Yeah, that sounds right, Jason. I'll buy that. Though I don't think it's really a big issue. Jason said to clarify, some fuses there to protect the wire from melting and starting a fire. Most fuses are there for that purpose. Other fuses are there to protect the amplifier from catching fire if it internally shorts. I agree with that. However, I don't think they're really necessary. I don't think there's anything in the amplifier that can internally short and conduct enough power over that short to overwhelm the power cable that's feeding that amplifier. Or the fuse that's fusing that. That's my argument. But you're right. That's what they're for. I just don't agree that they're not, which is why most amplifiers don't come with fuses anymore, because they're just not that necessary. Steve Smith said, I already have the Big Boss 3K. I'm going to run 2 18 Smackdowns. Oh, that's going to be nasty. Should I get another 3K or the 8K shock? The Banger 5K, if you've got a decent alternator, with a good electrical, the Banger 5K would be enough. But personally, I'm gonna recommend, because you're like most bass heads, you got the fever, you know, and this shit ain't gonna ever stop. Go ahead and get the Banger 10K. You're gonna be, it'll take you through more projects in the future, and I think that's something that's enough to make it worth the while to go on up to the 10K. It'll carry you further into your bass head endeavors. The 5K would do the job, but it wouldn't handle any major upgrades past that with that much power. It'd be right on the edge. A 10K is going to be able to do that on a stock alternator. As far as your amplifier choices, you've already got the Big Boss 3K, and let me do some looking real quick. So it's about a $300 amplifier. So you'd be spending another $300, and you end up with a 6,000 watt of unclamped. So you could figure about 50% of that, about 1,500 watts, or about 3,000 watts of clamp power. Probably. Usually, guys, we could go through a whole lot of math, but if you want to have an idea about what your amplifier is going to actually put into your speakers after box rise, just cut its power in half. Whatever it can make it 1 ohm, cut that in half, and you're going to be in the ballpark of how much power you're going to actually pull through that system. Just saying, that's where it ends up working out pretty much every time, right in that area. On the other hand, if we have the same $300, for the same $300, you could go with the 8K is only slightly more than that. You're going to get more power out of it. All right, so I need to know a couple of things, Steve. What kind of ohm load do you have? Because you're talking about going with more speakers and stuff. It all depends. If you need to run 2 amplifiers to match your ohm load, I would say I would go with the two of the 5Ks personally. But if you can do it with 1 amp, if you got a 1 ohm load already and you just want to upgrade, instead of getting another Boss 3K, I would go with the Slapz 8K and run that sucker at 1 ohm. You're going to be putting about 4,000 actual watts of power. Actually, more than that, a little more than that. You'll be around 4,000 or a little bit more power, actual clamp power to those 2 subs, which is about 500 or 600 watts a piece more than what they're getting right now. No, it's more than that, because you're only getting 1,500 watts. Yeah, you're going to be more than doubling your power. Put it that way. More than doubling your power for about the same price. Plus, you'll be using 1 amplifier. I think you'll be happier with that. And if you're gonna want to go down to multiples, like if your subs are set up at 2 ohms and you're going to drop them to 1 ohm each or something like that, then yeah, I'd go with 2 amps. But if you got a 1 ohm load already, then I would go that route. Yeah, exactly. Perfect answer. The 8K is probably going to serve you better than going with another Boss 3K. I'm so bad. So how many runs of 0 OFC do I need from the alt to the battery for 5,000 to 7,000 on 112? So 5 to 7K, it means that's your amplifier. You're probably looking at realistic numbers of 2,500 to 3,500 watts. So 250 to 350 amps. I'd run 2 runs. Just 2 runs is going to give you the capacity of 600 amps safely, and even more in burst. I think 2 runs would be totally fine. I'm running right at this moment. Well, no. Yes, because see, let me see. From the alt to the battery. Yeah. Your alternator, yeah, 2 runs is fine. What you're concerned about is the power that your alternator is producing. So let's say you've got an AGM battery, you're screwed because your alternator is not going to be able to put power into it. It's not going to take the power. But let's say you got a big old lithium bank that can take power. The amount of power that your alternator is producing, say it's a 300 amp alternator, a 300 amp is all you're ever going to pull from that alternator because that's all it's putting out. So running even a single alt gauge will be fine. I would run 2. I just like to go big, go over, but I would run 2 for that. And then I run from the alternator to the battery. I would run 2 runs of alt gauge. If you're running anything less than like 20 feet, that would be, and even then, 2 runs of alt gauge will handle 300 amps at probably 30 or 40 feet or 50 feet. I don't even know. A long damn ways. That's a lot of wire for that much power. Hopefully that helps you. I don't know. I got myself confused. Big Boss 8 at 70 volts, so 5K or so. Yeah. Yeah. Good deal. Red. Rio will need red, so I would need a 10K banger. Yeah, that's what I would run. You wouldn't need that. A 5K would work. Wait a minute. Let me go back. Make sure I'm reading correctly. Yeah. Do your 8K shock. Yes. Yeah. I want to make sure I was referring to the right information. Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily need it. A 5K with a good alternator would work, but I would run the 10K. You're going to be happier with that in the end. Dale said, how can I bypass that Volta? I'm not sure what we're talking about. Let me see. Okay, you have the electrical 250. Now you want a 370. Okay. And the market for a new alternator. Are you wanting to bypass the voltage regulator thing? Yeah, I found it now. I see it. Yeah, you're screwed. Just unplug it and watch your battery light come on and go off all the time. You can do a diode in there. Okay, you can bypass it by using a 1-wire alternator, which is what my 370 is. But if your computer doesn't see an alternator and voltage and stuff, it's going to be always popping up your little thing on your dash. You can also use a diode in there to make the computer think that the voltage is lower than it is, and so it will try harder to charge and it will run that 14 point something more. But that's a tricky thing, and you need to do a lot of research on the diode trick. Just look up diode alternator charging and start going through that playlist, and you'll learn enough to be able to get it done. Hopefully that was helpful. I'm just trying to feed you just enough to teach you how to eat. I don't want to give you all the fish. Red Pill says I have 2 AGMs and 1 truck under lithium 5K V2. Let's see here. All right, good deal. Awesome setup. 270. I was looking yesterday and they're out of stock. Yeah. Are you talking about truck under lithium? If you are, Brandon was on here just a few minutes ago. I talked to him today, and let me tell you what he said. I'm going to tell you what he said. He said, quote, "This week, hopefully, if not, next week at the latest." That's what he said. That was the answer to the question of what the status was on the 5Ks and 10Ks. That was word for word what he said. So you're gonna have to go kick him in the face if he's not telling the truth. Which I know he thinks he's telling the truth. He's fighting with shipments. Things are just being weird. So this is the war that we're all dealing with today. And regulated voltage control on the Tahoe. Yeah, I figured that out. Skipped ahead and read that for a month. Exactly. Rep Hill said he had to wait for over a month for his 5K V2, but it sucks, but it was worth it. See what I'm saying? You get that when you get a good battery, a genuinely good battery, it changes everything, guys. Right now, just hear me out. Right now, I've got a 16,000 watts of amplifier on a single trunked under lithium 10K V1 on one alternator. Now, granted, I'm not pulling 16,000 watts through there. I'm pulling probably closer to 8,000 watts. But that's 800 amps that I'm asking from that battery. My alternators are 370. At best, at 2,000 RPMs, it can produce 370 amps of power. And I took that thing out for a ride earlier with both amps running full tilt boogie, and I never saw my voltage drop below 13.5 volts. That's just how the damn battery works. Insane. Okay, they're super good batteries, guys. Put up with the bullshit. Get a real bank that's put together by somebody who gives a crap, somebody who thoroughly and abusively, rigorously tests everything, and then overbuilds it as far as he can. That's Brandon, okay? He ain't playing about his shit. His shit's crazy, man. He tests so hard. He abuses stuff. He won't run certain stuff because it just can't pass his abuse test. I mean, he'll be the first one to admit he's way rougher on the equipment than you'll ever be. But whenever you get something from him and he says it'll do this, you can bet your sweet ass it'll do that. That's how it works. That's just how this shit gets done. So yeah, that's why I want to wholeheartedly recommend trunked under lithium, because I know that I won't have to eat those words. You're going to be happy with the equipment that you get every time. And that's what I'm all about. Bobby, you hush. He had to wait because it took him a little while he had to wait on stuff. I'm so bad. Jason's answering questions. Jason is one of my community experts. He knows his shit, y'all. Listen to what Jason has to say. Well, you're a Tahoe. He's trying to help you with that Tahoe thing. That thing's crazy. 17K at 1 ohm, 318s at 0.99 or I don't know, I'm lost. 117K at 1 ohm on 313s at 0.99 or 3 base 8Ks. Okay, on 1 sub each. Whichever one is the loudest. Wow, that's hard. I don't know what particular amplifier you have that 17K. I would be looking for the setup that has the most efficiency, because what you're going to be running into in this scenario, these two things that you're comparing, is which system can get the power from the battery to the subwoofer the best. Is you're going to be limited by your electrical, not by the amplifier, most likely. I'd want to use the amps or amp combos that gave me the most efficient use of the power I was pulling from the front to the back in this scenario. And I'm not sure which one would be the best. I would be going outside of my expertise range range to even start to recommend one or the other. But that's what I would be looking for, is the efficiency, because the more energy you turn into base and the less you turn into heat, the better. And that's the thing that I would be looking at, is which one of those is going to do that the best. Damon said that's what I was just talking about, in case you guys are wondering, because I didn't have it up there. Jason WW2000 has said he's out of here, but he always comes back. He never leaves when he said he's out of here. He always comes back. He just can't leave. Smash that like button, he says. So I told you he'd be back. He said, yeah, a single gauge is fine on the 250. Yes, totally fine. Discount code. Steve said, what's the discount code for both Slapz and Trunked Under Lithium? Slapz, it's CAE, and for Trunked Under Lithium, it's CAE 10. Trunked Under Lithium is the only place where I have a different discount code. All of my discount codes are the same at Big Jeff, at B2 USA, and Slapz, and I have a few others too that are all CAE, including CustomStickerPods.com. It's CAE. All those are CAE, but at Trunked Under Lithium, it's CAE 10, because Brandon had to give me a 10. I don't know why, but that's just what he did. And I'm straight up Donald Trump in that. Just what he did. Don't know why. 47 to 13 Silverado Tahoe. Yep, that one. Yeah, I've heard that myself. I didn't have any luck with that. Red Pill's trying to answer him. It's CAE 10 for the it's CAE 10 for Trunked Under Lithium, and it's CAE for Slapz. Damian Johnson. Base Clef. Okay. Yeah, I've heard of them. I've heard of it, but I'm not familiar enough with it. That's a tough call, man. Like I said, what you're doing in this scenario is just figuring out which is the most efficient way of getting power from point A to point B. The stuff that you have in between are going to dictate how much of that you can do. Sometimes multiple amplifiers end up creating more heat, and therefore they're turning less of that power into base and more of it into heat. And sometimes it's the other way around. Multiple amplifiers can give you more efficiency because you can operate, like for example, usually you're going to get more efficiency out of an amplifier operating it at a higher ohm load. You won't get as much power, but let me explain what I'm trying to say. Let's say you've got a 1,000 watt amplifier and you've got two 500 watt amplifiers. You run the two 500 watt amplifiers and no. Let me do this right. You got a 1,000 watt or two 1,000 watts. You got one 1,000 watt amplifier, two 1,000 watt amplifiers. If you run the two 1,000 watt amplifiers at 2 ohms and the one 1,000 watt amplifier at 1 ohm, okay, you should get the same amount of power at the end. But the difference is the two running at 2 ohms are going to be down into that amplifier's efficiency range better. And usually the higher ohm loads an amplifier is running, the more efficient it is at turning DC into AC. Once it gets up close to the end of its power output, it gets less and less and less efficient, and it turns more energy into heat. So in that scenario, you would end up getting more power out of 2 running at 2 ohms than 1 running at 1 ohm, even though by the numbers it should be the same. Now in your scenario, that's not what's happening. You're looking at a difference of 1 ohm to 0.74. It's going to come down to a lot more than that. How efficient the amplifiers are, and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't want to guesstimate on that. if you already own all this equipment, I'm thinking, let's look at this. So 17,000, if we cut that in half, that's 8.5K. And the 312Ks, cut that in half, that's 6,000. Oh, wait. 18s. Or base 8K, one sub, one on each sub. And you're running, so basically at 17K or at 0.1, 3 FIMTs. Okay, so that'd be 3. You know what? I think you'll get more power out of running the 3 8Ks. I think they're gonna get around 12,000 watts out of the 3 8Ks. And you're only going to get about 8,500 out of that 17K. I think you're going to get more power out of the 3 8Ks. That's my opinion. Uneducated as it is, that's what I got. Joe Berserker, what's up, crew? He said, Gary, I hope I didn't hijack your channel the other day to share my experience. Oh, no, man. Ain't no hijacking going on up in here. I had fun. Confused the hell out of me. I still ain't sure I'm sure who you are outside of YouTube. I was in the shower trying to figure out who the hell is this cat. He knows too much. It's like, who do I know? Because you mentioned Fort Sill. I'm like, really? And then you knew Carmel. I'm like, who do I know that knows Carmel and knows where I went to basic at? There's very few people that know that much about me. So I still haven't figured out who you are in the real world. Feel free to drop me a clue. I'd like to know, Mr. Wearing Sunglasses. I had an idea that you might be 2 people. One person with somebody else behind them, feeding them information. But then I remember you also spoke up about car audio. You knew a little something about car audio, and that breaks more stuff. So I really don't know. Anyway, I want you to know. Tell me who the hell you are, Mr. Joe Berserker. But I've been on there for a while, and I'm going to call it a day. And I do appreciate you guys for stopping in. Hopefully I was able to answer your questions to the best of my ability. I did my best. Now I'm going to get off here and kick it. My verbiage. Yeah, I did say battery, yeah. See that? But still, man, that could have been, like Fort Hood. I don't know. Anyway. Just a smart cat. I'll figure you out eventually, man. Y'all have a good night. Let's talk to the duck. Peace.
Are glowing and the amp smoking, subs are cherry red.
I'ma keep jamming, gotta keep the bass slamming, gonna go hard till they're dead. Full power, gotta let it go. 20 hertz and floating air. Sparks are flying, voice cords are frying, and the smoke is in the air. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. Hey, we got more at home. Another one bites the dust.